All right, we'll call it. Start with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, and let the record reflect that all members are present. And board chair comments. So we didn't get to do our work session because the great non-spring that we had for that day. So we'll have to reschedule that when we have that at the end of the meeting there. Last meeting we had, we did a closed session for the superintendent evaluation. That went really well. There's two real big goals. One's a communication goal, and I think everybody's seen the survey and stuff go out on that, and a couple things we've had here at the board meeting to see the 30 million different ways we actually communicate together and how to streamline that and make it effective for each member and each party that does that. And the second thing is Christine did a really good job of putting together documenting what's going to happen in our future and when we need to replace things and what to be looking for when this bus needs to get replaced or this curriculum or different things like that. And I think we'll see that at the work session, right? So we'll bring that up and talk a long time about that, which is really good because that's where the board can get involved and do a lot of things together, prioritizing the financials and the different things there. So, and as a board, we worked very well together to get that done. So that was great. Oh, and it was all 6 board members and Dr. Rearkamp and Michelle that were in that meeting. Got to say that too. And then the other thing is we paid out some more scholarships. So that's always a great thing. And that's all I have for board comments. So with that, I will take a motion to approve the agenda. Director Bowman. Second, Director Trowell. Thank you. Do we have to amend it if we're doing it out of order?
I don't know.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Yes, we're just covering everything on the agenda, so. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, appreciation, recognition, and presentations. We have a few of those. Thank you.
Chairman Hofstad, members of the board, Superintendent Weirkamp. I have 2 people I'd like to recognize tonight. Band and choir have a unique spot in a school. Is their curricular, their co-curricular, they participate in extracurricular, and so one of the things that they do is participate in large group and solo and ensemble contests during the year. Those are Minnesota State High School League events. It's the one time where band kind of takes a little bit of a, band and choir kind of take a little bit of a sidestep and participate in a non-curricular. Going to a band concert and having a band concert is for a grade. It is for it's an activity. It is part of the curricular offering of having band at Royalton High School. This kind of takes a sidestep and allows those students to participate in a Minnesota High School League sanctioned band contest. Our bands have done very well and choirs have done very well in the past at these. And so I'd like to recognize both Chris Kopicus and Liv Baldzicki for leading our band and choirs into getting an excellent rating at the large group contest here this spring. So 4 ratings, there's superior. There's a whole bunch that goes into this. There's superior, excellent, good, and fair, I believe is the 4 ratings. And then there's 4 different classes of music, 1 through 4. So if you're doing tier 1 music, it is a certain difficulty, certain elements of it that go into it. All the way down to tier three, so there's 1, 2, and 3 tiers of music that you can play. And depending on the kids we have, the amount of returners, there's been times where we've been doing tier 1 music at contest. There's times where when we get a younger group that's coming in for the first time, that we'll do some tier 2 music. It really depends on the year, but it takes a lot of work. And if you went to the concert, you got to hear the contest pieces, and you play in front of a judge, and there's other schools there, and it's that music contest has not changed much in the 30 in the subsection. I remember being in school and going to the large group music contest at the same schools that our kids are going to. And so I'd like to congratulate Chris and Liv on their excellent job in leading our bands in the large group music contest. And you gotta get your picture, Jamie. I was like to leave that.
Over there?
Yeah, a lot of frogs behind him.
Perfect.
Let them sneak out before that happens.
Can't miss the photo op.
No. Okay, thank you.
That's what I should. Maybe that's what you guys do.
Chair Hofstad, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Werkamp. I'm Caitlin French, Activity Director. I have 4 student athletes that I like to recognize. First will be Nicholas Leibel. He was a state qualifier for the 172 pound. I can just hold on if you want. I also would like to recognize Caden Holm. He was a state qualifier at 215. Brandon Mugg was also a state qualifier and placed 5th in state at heavyweight. And Sawyer Simmons was the final one that qualified for state, and he ended up placing 4th. Unfortunately, Nick is the only one, so he gets to have all the spotlight.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Good thing that baseball game got canceled today, right?
Right. And why? All right, next is recognition of citizens for input purposes. All right, and we will go to board committee report. Finance.
Finance Committee met on March 27th, and we had a brief meeting. We discussed the enrollment for March. Happens to be down from 914 in February to 910 for March. We have the revised budget is for 922 ADMs, and we discussed some possibilities of other things that Heidi could teach us about when she gives her presentations for the months coming up.
Awesome.
That's about it. Everything else Heidi will brief us on.
Great, awesome, thank you. So for policy, we have a bunch of second and final readings. There's 4 of them there that we went through that are all super minor changes. They started spelling out US code rather than putting USC for like 3 of those. And then the third policy readings for final is the one small change for fund balance where we took away a tiny bit for that one. And then the other one that we're going into second readings is one's a 3-year review, one just changed the legislation on it, so the statute updates, and, actually two of them are statute updates. So we have another big, round of first policy readings that we're gonna slug through this time, and, a lot of those are just the 3-year rotation ones. And then Midstate, I have nothing significant to report for Midstate for right now. They're just trucking along just like we are. So, you wanna go to business manager report next?
Well, no, we go to mine.
Okay,
It's down here now.
okay,
So just to let everyone know, I'll be brief, went to the Beauty and Beast production. I hope you all made it. It was fantastic. Yesterday, I think was the most I've seen at a matinee of people coming to watch. It was really hard though to know that so many seniors are gone now, not coming back, but Amy held a senior, morning thing with her that she does monthly, and a lot of them are talking about doing something with acting in college or next, so that's good to know that they aren't gonna be giving it up completely, because there's a lot of talent there. And then I told you in our board briefing too, I did testify at both House and Senate committees around the READ Act, asking for additional dollars and flexibility with the dollars, telling them about Royalton and how much we get in support aid and how it doesn't go very far. $43,000 doesn't do everything they want us to do. So whether any changes get made, I have no idea. However, when the 3 groups got together, Senate, House, and Governor's office, they did add on additional dollars from the governor's original plan, but who knows where we'll end. We have another month yet to go. Well, month and a half, almost 2 to go before we'll know. So keep plugging away. That's all I have.
all right, thank you. Business manager report.
Good evening, Chairman Hofstad, members of the board, Christine Warkamp Herman. This update is for the fiscal year 2024 board meetings, April budget update. The information that we are looking at tonight is actually February's financials, as it's a 2-month delay based on timing. Enrollment, we look at this every single month. We continue to monitor and track. As board member Trout mentioned in her committee update, we are looking at about 910 student enrollment for the month of March, down just a little bit from February. I did base our revised budget on the 922 ADMs, and that I feel confident in, considering that there are weighted per pupil unit calculations for those grades 7th through 12th that will account for some of that ADM at the 922. General fund revenues are on track as a current year revised budget at 55%, and as compared to previous years, also within that 1 to 2% range. Again, I feel confident on where we are at currently with revenues in all categories. Similar with general fund expense, overall on track, the current year revised budget at 60%, again, as compared to previous years within that 1 to 2% comparison. Most notably, what I look at is salaries, wages, and employee benefits, and those are on track as compared to previous years as a percentage of the budget, knowing that that is around 65 to 70% of our total budget. And so again, confident of where we are at based on current year. Any questions on current financials or reports that were part of the accompanying board packet?
I think we're good.
Right, thank you.
Thank you. Principal report.
Chairman Hofstad, members of the board, Superintendent Warkamp, 2 quick things. This is my verbal invite to board to graduation on May 23rd. having had all of you last year, you're veterans of the graduation process. You will get a letter from me with the formal invitation and instructions, seating chart, everything that you need to know for graduation night. Graduation is at 7. Board members usually come between 6:15 and 6:30 to get their flower. Randy will get there at 10 to 7. We'll be ready to roll.
Plenty of time.
Yeah, plenty of time. He will get there and we will then proceed to the South Gym and the board has seating on stage as usual. So be looking for that letter. I mean, I wouldn't be checking the mailbox every day, but in the next 3 weeks or so that information will get out to you. And then I would also like to congratulate the cast and crew of Beauty and the Beast. I have been as an activities director and principal for over 20 years in this district. I think it's the best drama performance that I've seen in that time. I remember coming to plays not that long ago where on Friday night, opening night, there was 25 people sitting in the cafeteria or in the gym for a play. And when I got there, my wife and I got here on Sunday afternoon, they were pulling out extra chairs because there were so many people here. And our kid just did a great job with it. It was fun to see kids invest so much of themselves in something like a musical production takes on. You could see it if you got to see the show. You could see those seniors' emotion with it being over. And that's what happens when you put your heart and soul into something for a long, long time, and a lot of pride goes into that. And so it was really just really exciting to see that and to see our kids perform at such a high level. So I'd like to congratulate Melanie Smensky and the cast and crew of Beauty and the Beast Junior. Questions?
We're good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair Hofstad, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Werkamp Herman. Just a quick update, elementary school here. It's gonna be nice getting back to 5-day weeks for the next 6 weeks as we enter our testing season of MCAs and fast testing here. So hopefully wrap that up by early May for MCAs, and FastBridge we have an extra couple weeks because we want to make sure we get through our MCAs. So we got that going on. Kindergarten registration happened early February, and thought you'd like an update on where we are as far as historical comparison for kindergarten registration. And we always start with our starting census, which is the kind of list that we get from our current enrollment for pre-K, as well as from the county of who's living in our district. And we send them packets of information, plus the ones that request information from us when they hear that we're gonna have it. So typically out of a four-year historical average, we started with 88 as a starting census. And on that first night, we get about 44 packets of information in. Generally, that's most times it's first time kids into the district, people that have 3 or 4 kids in the district. They don't typically come, they get the packet and they send it in later because they've heard it 3-4 times. And then, so we historical 4-year average 44 on information night, and then we start the school year with 67 has been our 4-year average. This year, our starting census, we had 89 packets of information came out. I know there were 6 others that were sent out in addition because they requested that information. We had 44 registrations turned in at kindergarten information night, and then we have 52 current registrations. So we're right on what we have been in the past for the stuff sent out, but also for what we've had at this point in time. So, any questions?
We're good. Okay, thanks, Mike. All right, athletic director.
Chair Hofstad, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Werkamp Herman, Caitlin French again. Kind of a quick recap of winter sports. Our girls had a great season. They made it in the second round of playoffs where they ended up losing to Albany, who ended up being second in state. And then we also had Kylie Watoshik and Haley Wilbeck that had set several school records over the course of the season. And both of them were named all area, and then Kylie also received an all section award. Boys basketball also had a good year. Maybe not as, could have won a couple more games, were a couple close games that were decided in the last couple seconds. Ethan Albright, was all area and also got an all section nomination. Wrestling, as you heard from our recognition, at the beginning of the meeting, we sent 4 wrestlers to state, 2 of them placing at state. And then the team made it into the semifinals for the team wrestling. Our one act, I believe I might have touched base off in February, but I'll say again, finished 4th in sections. And so we're just a couple places out of making it to state. And then the play was very successful. I believe they sold out all on Friday night, had quite a few tables sold, like close to the same number sold for Saturday showing. And then last night, when I looked at how much they made last year over the 3 days, they just about hit that with just Sunday's performance alone. So they did really well. Looking ahead to our spring numbers, today should have been our first day of competition, and it wasn't all for the rain. Over the last 2 days, we probably would have been able to go. But track has 50 kids currently registered. Baseball has 24. And that's 9 through 12 for baseball. Softball, again, 9 through 12 has 25. Boys golf, which is a 7 through 12 program, has 23. Girls golf has 4. Trap shooting currently has 59 kids registered. I have to cross check for those that actually have done this, the state league sign up, so that could change a little bit. For our junior high baseball, we have a total of 25 kids between 7th and 8th grade, 12 and 13 respectively. And then for girls softball, we have 24, so 12 and 12. So numbers are looking good. Probably girls golf is the one that I would like to try to get up, and I've already been talking to their coach to try to get more interest sparked for girls golf. Any questions?
I have a quick question about golf. Have we secured a home course for our golf teams?
So to answer your question, yes and no. I mean, Little Falls is what we deem as our home golf course. That's where we'll be hosting our meets this year, which we'll have a JV meet on Monday. Girls varsity plays on Tuesday, and then boys varsity would be April 30th, early enough so then people that have band can get to there for the concert. That will be at Little Falls. There's been some conflict with their Little Falls AD and their teams because they have a pretty large number of boys and so do we. So to try to balance that out, it's been tricky. So right now we can get on the course at 5, which is not ideal. So girls will be able to get on there sooner just because of having only 4. So I'm working with other courses. I have tea times right after school at Oak Hill on Mondays and Wednesdays that we're going to utilize. We might utilize Eagles Landing a little bit to help get our kids onto those courses a little bit sooner. So to answer your question, yes, but we're also trying to make sure our boys don't have to wait around until 5 o'clock or even 4:30 to get on the course.
Yeah, I know, obviously there's growing pains with
Yep.
sport.
So,
Are
yeah.
we gonna look to shift gears? In the future, or do you think this is just gonna iron out?
I'm gonna see if we can't work something out with Little Falls first to see if we can't alternate early, late type practices. If we can't necessarily get to an agreement, then we may have to find an alternative course. You know, with next year, we should be able to access the driving range, which for some of our boys, they won't be able to use just because it's not gonna be long enough, but we will have that, so we might be able to find a different space. I mean, which is partially why we can't use Oak Hill because they don't have a driving range, so.
Sure.
It's something that's on my docket to try to get going sooner than later.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
We're good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any community, yeah?
Chair Hofstad, members of the board, Dr. Werkamp Herman. I thought I'd give you an update on where we were at winter, kind of recap winter community ed. We offered a ton of different classes, but some of the highlighted classes that were the most popular were Lego Mania and our Winter Wonderland Arts and Crafts class for the younger kids. Firearm safety has continued to be just bonkers. I get people from everywhere calling and wanting to get into our firearm safety class. Robotics we offered and they did very, very well. And we're ironing out some things with community ed and robotics and all that good stuff. So that's been good this year. We also offered a middle school, senior high sign language for beginners. And then some of our adult classes that were pretty popular were pickleball, yoga. We offered 2 sessions of yoga, and are now just offering 1. But it's a lot more full, estate planning, and then, of course, girls and boys basketball, kind of those community ed classes for the winter. What we have going on for spring, a lot of the enrichment stuff is kind of taking spring, summer. When I talk spring, it's really stuff that's gonna happen in really April and May. A lot of the enrichment things are kind of taking the back burner. There's really the art club for middle schoolers that is happening, but other than that, it is pretty much all sports. So t-ball, tossball, softball, baseball, soccer, a volleyball camp, and then basketball camp. That's what it will be here primarily throughout the summer. Any questions about community ed classes?
Did that royal review already get mailed? For the
Nope,
spring
it's
classes?
coming.
Oh, okay,
It's coming.
Okay.
Yep. Should be here soon.
sure.
And then preschool numbers, wanted to give you an update on where we're at with preschool. We had a registration night as well, or an information night. And we currently have 55 4-year-olds who are wanting to be in programming and 8 3-year-olds. That's down a little bit from last year, the 3-year-olds. Right now, currently, we have 27 3-year-olds and 64 4-year-olds. But again, as a 3-year-old parent, we try to get information out. But a lot of people aren't thinking about school for their 3-year-old when it's March or April and there's still some snow on the ground. So we have a couple different nights that we're putting information out at our ECFE classes, and we just sent an email to all of the people who had attended ECFE classes and or did preschool screening in our district. So hopefully we'll get some more kiddos enrolled. Although those numbers are not, those are actually probably just about where we've always been at this point in time. I feel like 3-year-olds is a little bit down. And then exciting news for our department. We purchased a new software system that is called ARUX. And ARUX is gonna cover everything community ed. So it will be facility requests, preschool registration payments, MAP, before and after school childcare registration payments, and then enrichment class registration and payments. It also will be able to do some things with attendance for our childcare program, some data management and some marketing, and it'll be all in one place, which will be amazing. Some other districts that are using ARUX are Little Falls, Pequot Lakes, Litchfield, and New London Spicer. And so far, preschool, we built preschool first and registration was done via that new system. We are in the process of putting the last couple of details into the facility requests, and that will go live. And then Summer Map will also be, people will register on ARUX for Summer Map. And then for fall, we'll get all of our community ed classes built in there so that for the fall registrations, they'll register via ARUX. It's not going to look much different for the end user in that you're going to go to our website and it's going to look similar. But on our back end of doing things, it's going to be amazing to be able to organize and to be able to have all of our information in one spot and be able to run some reports and things like that. Any questions?
Super good. Thanks, Amy. All right, next is a consent agenda. So the board is consenting to approve items listed below as presented at one time. At any point, as director can pull an item off the consent agenda for further discussion. We have approval of regular board meeting minutes for March 14th, 2024, the claims, accounts, and financials, and the approval of the new hires. Or anything anybody wants to pull off?
Sounds the motion to approve.
Okay. Director Bowman,
Move to second it.
second by Director Hackett. Any discussion?
Yeah, I have a quick question. I wanted to understand, one of the acronyms on there. Can someone explain to me what Royalton FED teachers stand for?
Federation
Oh,
teachers.
okay. Wasn't sure what that one stood for. I hadn't heard that before. Let's see. And then the mid-state breakdown on our checking, goes kind of line by line item. And is that what we pay per service that we are accessing from them? The way that they break down?
Yeah, they
The whole-
bill us, monthly, for the 11 months, and then our 12th month June billing is a reconciliation of all those various line items. Some are reconciled up and others are reconciled down.
Sure. Okay. Just trying to understand all those things. Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carries. Which one do you want to do next?
Start with unpaid lunch debt and then we'll do the senior legacy second, because she
Okay.
takes the lead on both of those.
Yep, sounds good.
Good evening, again, Board Chair Hofstad, members of the board, Dr. Christine Camp Herman. I'm using my computer because my notes are on there, but previous board meetings, discussion around active and inactive unpaid lunch debt balances. I shared with you the process for determining collectible and uncollectible unpaid lunch debt, the difference between the two. Collectible is a reasonability that any of those balances would be collectible within the next year and would be able to be carried forward to the next fiscal year, showing effort towards those collection of those balances. Uncollectible are balances that are deemed uncollectible based on time and effort and resources in communicating and determining reasonability of being able to collect, and then whether or not the district would choose to turn over those uncollectible debts to a collection agency and what that process would look like. Since those meetings, we've continued to work through the uncollectible debt process based on the time, the effort, and the resources used to determine what that collectability would be. My recommendation would be to consider a write-off of the uncollectible debt balance, which is at this time around $11,565. Given the time invested in that, which included email outreach, mailed letter outreach, direct phone calls, and conversations with debtors. Also into the consideration would be pending legislation that would prohibit public school districts from turning over uncollectible debt to collection agencies. I'll continue to monitor the balances for future payments, which may be likely, but my future consideration would be to recommend that we write off the balance at the end of the fiscal year.
And I can just say the bill has been introduced around not being able to send it to collection. Of course, the session hasn't ended, so we're not sure if that's actually going to get passed, but it's in consideration.
Any questions?
How old is that debt? How far back does it? go?
Yeah, so inactive debt goes back to 2011. Staff that are inactive, no longer at the district, dates back to 2007.
If you had to give a rough estimate, how much would you say kind of annually that we end up in?
I would say that it would be extremely limited and case by case exceptions only. We've implemented steps to prohibit the additional charging of second meals or a la carte items within the food service lunch line, both breakfast and lunch, in addition to more frequent monitoring. So I would expect that the balance, if any, would be very minimal.
And you're doing that for students and staff, correct?
Correct.
Any other questions? All right.
The next discussion is a recommendation to consider moving regions, which would be our accounting vendor support region, currently with CMERDC, which is Region 3, to Region 1, which is out of the Moorhead, Minnesota area. And we'll talk a little bit tonight why I would recommend the consideration to move regions. So CMERDC, the district is familiar with. Current reality is costs have consistently increased year over year, upwards of over 30% since 2022. That alone is a major factor and impact in our budget. CMERDC has consistently experienced a high level of staff turnover dating back to around 2021, resulting in decreased support and service, mainly based on the high turnover and then the competency and or background and experience of those new staff is limited. Thus resulting in increased response time to support requests, especially for our staff here in the district office, being relatively new to their roles. The expectancy of needing support and timely support would be a high level need at our current staffing situation. Great staff, very competent staff, but with school finance always having that need for support is much more necessary in the beginning phases of new staff than latter. CMERDC has also over the past few years eliminated some types of the support and offerings that were known and would have expected to receive, those considering trainings, in addition to also a la carte types of support services, anywhere from bank reconciliation support to reconciliation of annual levy tax receipts. Those are no longer offerings, whether or not we would choose to request that support. We no longer have the ability to. And for a small district of our size, and the number of staff we have in the office, those types of support and services have been and would prove to be a benefit, and therefore we no longer have. If we were to request a service that was once provided but no longer, it would come with a high cost. Strengths of Region 1. So as I'd mentioned, we have considered opportunities of different regions throughout the state of Minnesota. Region 1 is the region that we would recommend that we move to based on several different areas of our vetting process over the last few months. Overall, their fees and services are less than what we're currently paying. In fact, they have a flat rate fee as compared to CMERDC has different rates for different types of services and support. So we would have a savings of at least $1,000 annually for the same type of service we're paying for now. As I'd mentioned, additional services for trainings and or support are a la carte at CMERDC, whereas in Region 1, that's included in the annual support rate. Region 1 provides consolidated costs and added support and service, which again isn't available where we're currently at. Region 1 has a very tenured staff, long-term staff, which equates to a high level of competency and efficiencies and productivity within their office structure, which would be a great benefit to our district. Their availability for one-on-one support is much greater than that we have now. In fact, we don't have one-on-one support with our current vendor, and timely response to requests would be a high benefit to the district, again, given the tenured staff and their timeliness, their efficiency and productivity in their current staff capacity at Region 1. Based on the work that has been done to vet Region 1 and the concerns that continue with our current region, CMERDC, my recommendation would be that we consider the opportunity to move to Region 1, which they have confirmed that they would accept our district into their region. And my recommendation would be that we do that at the end of this fiscal year.
Make that decision before mid-June meeting, basically.
Any questions?
I have a question. Do we have to like pay anything to, CMERDC, like if we leave the contract? Or are we leaving like when we're,
Is there a
Like-
contract?
yeah,
That's probably the
well, I
better
guess,
question to
yeah.
ask.
There's a joint powers agreement. It's very strange. I just gotta say, there's a joint powers agreement. Then there's, so according to their executive director, I don't have anything in writing that really shows this, but the smart services that they provide us, meaning that's the system that we use to handle all our financials, is separate from the joint powers. And he initially just wasn't allowing us to leave the smart system. We wanted to continue using a smart system. We had to be there. Well, there's nothing anywhere in writing that demands that we're required to stay, and you can't do that. Like, you have to have an out clause. Nobody has to pay another vendor for something if they don't want to have their service. So, we would, if the board approves to move away, we would definitely have our attorney write that letter of removal and, make sure that but according to their executive director, we would have to get removed from two things: a joint powers agreement and then the smart services. And then Region 1 functions like, what I would imagine most of the other regions function. They have where you're a part of that, you get their smart services in their group, and they have a board of directors, they meet monthly. Whereas the board of directors meets once a year for CMERDC, so there's very little oversight from the board, whereas Region 1 has monthly meetings much like this with an executive director, and so it just makes better sense.
And to answer your question with regard to any fees unaccounted for in the budget that would become an expectation, no, not that I'm aware of, nor is there anything documented that there would be such fees for removal or
And
ending, and we pay per quarter for the services that are currently rendered, so it would just be a final payment at the end of the fourth quarter.
And Heidi and myself have both been in contact with a different district that's moved, and I've been in touch with their superintendent a few times. She's been in touch with the business manager a few times, and I don't recall them ever saying of any sort of.
Correct, they said that it went very smoothly, that they were up and running within less than a day of transition of data.
And so we'll ask that our transition would be the same. It should flow as smoothly as theirs.
Is there any cost to that transition? Like, are we still using our same smart system software? That same thing minus logins to which server it goes to? Is there anything else that would change?
There shouldn't be anything else that changes.
Good passwords.
Yeah.
Awesome.
better service.
Yeah, it's a good point. There would be benefits, not negative consequences for that consideration.
All right, any other questions? All right, thank you, Heidi.
All right, thank you.
Next is the homeschool. Didn't bring the document. I didn't send you that document, did I? That had the homeschool questions, yeah, I didn't think so.
Are you talking to me? I thought you were talking to Randy.
I didn't get it either, though.
What you said, and just kind of start us off. So I did reach out to our attorney to talk about this whole process. Our normal person, Zach, was not available, so I worked with Abby, and the attorney advises against the board conducting any sort of exit interview, and recommends if you're going to do an exit interview, you would have a staff person do this, and here are the reasons why. FERPA and the Minnesota's Data Privacy Act. So under these laws, private educational data can only be shared with individuals in order to perform their job duties. So we even talk about that here in that discussion today. If your one teacher doesn't necessarily know things about a student if they're not their student. So we don't just freely share information about students. That goes along with positions of the board. If you don't need to know that information to do your work, then it wouldn't be private. You could have somebody come back and say, that's a problem, you breached data privacy. Also, it could be looked at as a form of harassment or retaliation for leaving the district. And so we just have to be very, very careful on how you ask the question or how we would ask the question. And then, she really felt that staff would be better equipped to handle any information provided, and then the staff could go ahead and report back to the board what was learned in a way that would protect all identities and such. So that's what I learned.
That's what I figured. So we'll punt this down to the next work session. So I did email it out to all of you for the last work session, I think 6 questions that I figured out, and feel free to add or bring anything back to it that's there, but yeah. Thank you for the research on that.
Sure.
All right, and then policy reading. So going into first policy reading is 206, which is public participation in school board meetings and complaints about persons at school board meetings and data privacy considerations. So that one's on the 3-year turnaround. 209 Code of Ethics, 214 out of state travel by school board members, 406 public and private personnel data with a form of consent to release and request from an individual, 407 employee right to know and exposure to hazardous substances, 802 disposition of obsolete equipment and material, 902 use of school district facilities and equipment, and 905 for advertising. Most of those are on the 3-year cycle of what's coming up there. Going into second policy that we looked at last time, open meetings and closed meetings is a 3-year review. 410 is family and medical leave policy. That one has some small legislative updates that from the last session that are in there. And 509 has enrollment of non-resident students. And that was just statute updates where they moved statutes there. So second reading and final, because of minor changes, is 208 development, adoption, and implementation of policies. 420 students and employees with sexually transmitted infections. 501 school weapons policy, and 711 video recording on school buses. So I will take a motion to approve our second and final 4 policies.
So moved.
Director Hackett,
Second.
second, Director Bowman. Any discussion on those? All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carries. Okay, approval of third policy readings. So the third policy readings is 712 video surveillance other than on buses, and 714 fund balances. So I'll take a motion to approve those on third reading.
So moved.
Director Hackett,
Second.
second, Director Bowman, thank you. Any discussion on those 2? All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, upcoming meeting schedule. So Monday, May 13th is the next regular meeting. Wednesday, May 22nd, finance, and at noon and 1 o'clock is policy. I think we'll leave those 2 hours.
We could add in May 8th will be the strategic planning committee that evening.
We should. There should be April, the 4th week in April for the Wednesday. I think I jumped ahead to May.
Well, I'm sorry. What was that?
Oh, yeah.
It should be April 24th
Yep,
is the finance and policy,
Oh,
not May 22nd. I mean, it's probably May 22nd as well, but
So April
So-
24th at noon and 1 for the
Yep.
next finance and policy. And then, so May strategic planning, who plans on going to that?
I'll get back to you if I can attend it.
Okay. Yeah, let me know, and if not, we'll,
It is, but religion should be over. I don't know if that helps. Not my situation. No. Okay. Oh, okay. Sorry, I did not bring a meeting calendar.
nope, that's
I brought
fine.
my April calendar.
That's just fine. So
But
let me know. And then
I will-
Angela, you're the other one for strategic planning,
What was the date?
May 8th.
Let me get back to you, I think I can.
Okay. Yeah, if you guys want to just email me and then I can push it out to the board, and if you guys can't do it, then we can open it up to somebody else there. And then work session. So I had Christine push out in the board thing, because of schedules and other scheduling. Does 15th or 16th work next week to do the work session? We'll start with the 15th. Does anybody cannot do the 15th?
If we do the 15th, just so everyone knows, Heidi would not be able to be in attendance. If we do the 16th, I think she should be able to.
I think would be better for me.
Which one?
Tuesday the 16th.
Tuesday?
Mhm.
Okay. Well, you, Randy?
Works.
Okay,
I'm available.
Okay.
Either day.
Larry?
Yes, that should work.
Lucas?
It works for me, but I know Lori won't be able to be here that day. Putnam from St. Cloud.
Okay, I thought she was available those 2 days.
I thought she would be too, and I reached out to her. She's not available. The only day she's available for like the rest of the month is the 29th. Which is a Monday
April.
of April. Originally, when I reached out to her, she said the week before, the week after would have been fine. After whatever, and then, when I told her the date, she came back and said that it wouldn't work. The 29th would be the only day available for her. So I just think she would be a good asset to have here. As an administrator. Knows a lot about the SRO program. She worked with SROs as a social worker and as a principal and as now as a superintendent. So I think she brings up.
Okay, we're gonna have to kick it past May's meeting then.
Not next week. Or are you doing a second list?
If we're gonna keep it with Lori there, because the 29th I can't do.
Well, there's two options. We could have a work session that doesn't have that on the
Right.
agenda
Yep.
and then have that at a later date.
Yep.
Because there's other things on the agenda that,
For next month.
Yeah, like May.
I can ask her. She didn't say.
Okay.
I just asked if anything this month.
I'm not suggesting that we have two work sessions in a row, but that
Yeah,
could be-
I'm all for two smaller work
You
sessions
could-
and one big one,
You can go
so,
May or June even. I mean, it's not.
yeah. It's not temporal, but
If we have stuff we want to get done this first work session, then have a work session in May or June. You know,
yeah, I mean. We can, so we've already talked about, so
Yeah.
CMR, ERDC was on there.
Mhm.
We will have to talk about the exit interview questions. So that's one. We have, budget with enrollment. And talking through that and how the money works with that. And phone policy. those are the three things that I have, other than SRO for that. Because we've already also talked about lunch debt,
Yeah.
so
What were your three things again? I'm sorry.
exit interview, budget with enrollment, like the difference that happens from ALP and ALC, homeschooling and how our budget does with that, how the money works when that happens.
When ALC happens? Oh, you mean the ADM, when they leave us?
Yes.
That's what I thought you
Yep,
meant like.
how the
Yeah.
ADM funding works for all those different types of
Mhm.
actions that happen, whether they're in our control or not, or whatever. Is there anything else that we want to talk about?
Well, then you'd need Heidi here, so
Yep.
Tuesday would definitely be better than Monday.
Yep. I think everybody said 16th is good, right?
Yeah,
Okay. So we'll go with those three, and then,
6 o'clock.
yeah, we'll do 6 p.m. again. And that's 16 April, this April.
If you need more for your agenda, I do have an idea that I haven't sent you yet.
What's that?
Been sitting on it. The concept of a board member handbook. That I just wanted to share information with you from a different district. A few other districts that utilize one.
Yes.
And it's the policy team that
Yep.
parents this.
Let's
So-
do that next work session, but if you can send me like
Yep,
the
I will.
backup stuff, that would be good. I don't know that in a week we can
Yeah.
turn around and talk anything
Right.
smartly about that.
Sure.
Now you're gonna require us to talk smartly.
That's what we do this for, hopefully. Okay, and then, Lucas, you wanna get back to me with some dates, and then we'll try to figure out if we can, hammer it out that night, or on the 16th, or we'll wait until our May meeting. To pick a new work session date to talk through SRO and what'd you call it, board member
Handbook.
handbook? Yeah. No, that's a good idea. All right. Anything else? All right, I will take a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move to adjourn the meeting.
All right, thank you, Director Hackett. Second by Director Bowman. To adjourn the meeting at 6:57. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carries. We are adjourned.